Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. It's just Marco here once again, and I am here today to talk about the next Winona Ryder movie. I was not originally supposed to do this today, but we kind of changed our schedule around because of Safi. And I went, honestly, we weren't in the mood to read a book today. It takes like hours to read these books, and we weren't in the mood, so I fully admit that. I was much more in the mood to watch a Winona Ryder movie, even if it wouldn't be very good. Like, I'll watch anything that she's in. I'm watching everything that she's ever been in, and, I'll watch it all. So this movie, it's called Welcome Home, Roxy, Carmichael. And let's just say, this is one of those movies that I've seen around a lot. I've always seen it around to watch for free on like Tubi, Amazon, like all the time. And the poster doesn't really give you very much. It's just Winona Ryder sitting there in a pink dress, smiling. I think that the poster is kind of, crappy. Because, it doesn't really give you a good sense of what the movie's going to be. It doesn't give you a good sense of Winona's character, that's for sure. I mean, she hardly smiles throughout the entire movie. I mean, she's got a lot of shit going on in this movie. And, so the movie is all about, they set it up at the beginning where this guy, played by Jeff Daniels, is with this girl named Roxy, and they had a premature baby together, but Roxy does not want to take care of it. She wants to go run off to Hollywood so that she can become famous, and she leaves, and she says, just go find that baby a good home. And years later, Jeff Daniels is now married with 2 children of his own, with his new wife. Well, he never married Roxy. And then Winona Ryder is this girl named Dinky, and she is like a social outcast. She's a misfit, but she feels a strong connection to Roxy, and she thinks that she's Roxy's daughter. She thinks that she was the baby that they got rid of, and she was the baby that they gave away. And at the same time, this hometown of Clyde, Ohio, which, by the way, Winona Ryder has been in quite a few movies that take place in Ohio, and I just think that's kind of hot, so I just want to say that, it's totally hot. I wish that my goal is to one day make a movie that takes place in Ohio with Winona Ryder, and I don't care if she's 90 years old. It'll be the hottest movie I ever make. It'll be even steamier than 50 Shades of Grey. It's going to be the greatest thing of all time. But Dinky, she has a hard life because her parents, they adopted her, and, they don't really care about her a whole lot, or it seems like they don't. Kids at school don't like her. They call her smelly. They throw food at her at lunch. They do all this stuff to make her life a living hell. There is one guy that kind of likes her, though. Kind of. And, she has a terrible time, even though she's smart. She gets good grades. She does not fit in. And, and this whole movie is building up to, at the end of the movie, Roxy Carmichael is coming to town, and they're throwing a ball that is dedicated to her, and it's in her honor, and she's going to be the guest of honor there and everything, and so it's all leading up to that. Now, first off, something that I thought was funny was that, there's a school psychiatrist, and she takes an interest into Dinky, into trying to help her out and trying to make her fit in and make people see her in a different light. And this school psychiatrist, she becomes a very weird character in this movie. And I'll explain why later. But for now, it's really funny that I kind of called this out early on. But she every time she's with Winona practically, she's buying her things. She's giving her sweets. And I thought, this is what you call grooming. Like, you guys know how, like, people acted like Jerry Lee Lewis was grooming his cousin. Like, in this movie, the psychiatrist, she'd be grooming Winona Ryder. Like, every single time, like, that they're on screen together, like, she gets her some candy. She gives Winona more candy than a pedophile would have. And, Winona in this movie, she was supposed to be, like, a teenager, but she's 18 in real life. I think she was actually 19 when this movie came out. And so, that gives me free rein to say, you know what, guys? She was really, really hot in this movie. And, Winona Ryder did a fantastic job acting in this movie, too. She gave a great performance where there were a lot of moments where she didn't even have to say anything. She, just with her facial expression, she did a really good job acting. She had so many great moments in this movie, so many highlight moments. I really feel like, well, besides Beetlejuice and Heathers, that this has been her best movie so far, despite the problems that come later on. And then also, I just gotta say, like, I don't know what it is with movies giving Winona, like, really terrible love interests. It seems like whenever they have her in a movie, they might know how to cast her really well in, like, a role, like in Heathers or Beetlejuice or this movie, but they never know what love interest to give her, like, what type of guy to give her. Because the guy in this movie, it's really, really weird, guys. Like, the guy that they give her in this movie is Russ from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. And he's got long hair. At first I thought he was a girl. And, it's Russ from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. And he just does not fit with her at all. And I don't know. It's like in every single movie so far, it's like they do not have a clue of like what guy would have chemistry with her, what guy would be a good love interest for her. It's just like, oh, let's get that guy. Let's get the guy from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. I mean, he's a good actor. He had chemistry with the girl in that movie. That kind of boring blonde girl from that movie. He had chemistry with her. But he doesn't have chemistry with Winona. He just doesn't. And also, there's a scene in the movie where Winona is on the bus. She gets on the school bus because I think she wants to start fitting in more. And she immediately falls down on this dirty bus floor. And I gotta say, like, I don't know if this was, like, what it was like in the 80s and 90s, but, like, the bus was not this dirty at all. Like, the bus would not have been allowed to be this dirty. The bus driver has to clean up the bus. In fact, whenever kids made a mess, a lot of the bus drivers, they get very upset, and they would say, no, you clean it up now, because the bus driver, he or she, they're used to cleaning up the bus. You can't have, like, this gross, dirty floor. Like, the only exception would be, like, if it was, like, rainy and muddy out, like, obviously it would be, like, dirty throughout the day, and the bus driver would clean it up, like, after the afternoon ride was over. That would happen sometimes, but, like, the bus floor was never as dirty as it was in this movie. It was still gross, though. There was this one time where I was trying to do like a Mission Impossible scene. And so I went underneath the bus seats and I crawled all the way to the back of the bus. And then I crawled all the way back to my seat. And I was like trying to do like a secret spy mission. And it was really kind of fun, actually. But it was gross, you know. It smelled. But it was not very dirty, you know. I mean, I was not really embarrassed after having done that, you know. It was not that dirty. Even if Winona got dirty from falling on the bus floor, it wouldn't affect my interest in her, that's for sure. And there are a lot of funny moments in this movie, too. This movie is kind of a good light comedy, somewhat. Not really as a whole, though. And we'll talk about that, but there's this funny part where Winona refuses to kiss Russ, and he's like, I really want to kiss you. And she's like, it's good to want things. And I thought that was a funny line. And then he just sits there and says, bummer. You know, that was really good. And then also, herein comes another story. So the teachers are sitting around in the cafeteria, and this scene is really like indicative of the terrible public school system, because these teachers are sitting here in this lunchroom, and they're letting children throw food at Dinky. Throwing food at her, like just doing whatever they want. And not only that, but they're also sitting there questioning whether or not Dinky should go to this special school. You know, they were saying, like, maybe she has a learning disability, and it's like, you're sitting there questioning this girl because she sits alone, but, like, you're not questioning any of these kids that are throwing food at her, that are doing something that, you know, is very wrong and against the rules. It's like, oh, there's nothing wrong with that. It reminded me of a funny story, actually, from school that I could share. It wasn't food, but it was me and Vichyssoise from Super Dumbasses. We were sitting at a lunch table together, like we did sometimes. And we were playing this game where I rolled my water bottle to him, and then he rolled the water bottle back to me. And, you know, it hardly had any water in it. It was like just like 7/8 full of water. And we were just bored, you know. We didn't have anything more to talk about. And, well, then I accidentally rolled it too far. And it went to the other side of the table where these other guys were sitting. And they just, you know, the people in this area, you know, they were acting really, really shitty. Like we did something horribly wrong, or like that, you know, they just kind of sat there like with idiotic faces. And so then this one guy, he picked it up and just acted like it was like something horrible that we did. And he stood up and he threw the water bottle right at my face, as if like I was doing like something like on purpose or something. It was really, really strange. And the even stranger thing about it was that he did it so openly. You know, the vice principal and the school resource officer were standing like 10 feet away. They saw everything that happened. And so, like, immediately he got in trouble. But then guess what happened, guys? Like, after he went up there and talked to them, he got to go back and eat his lunch and just go back to the way things were as if he did nothing wrong. And I had to go up there and the resource officer, Officer Brown, a.k.a. Officer Dipshit, he acted like it was my fault that he assaulted me and threw a water bottle at my face. Like, and I didn't even hit any of them either. I hit like a lunchbox. And I gotta say, like, if I did something wrong in that scenario, like, I think that somebody would have been hurt, you know, like, let's just say that, like, you know, because, like, I was sitting there, like, you know, I'm not going to do anything back because I know that, you know, there's a school resource officer right there, and also I'm in school, and you know, but like, let's just say if I was in the real world and that fucker had done that, he would have ended up in the hospital. And so like, I don't know, like, I just think like in that situation, it's so funny that like, you know, this is what always happens like in the public school system, is that like somebody gets messed with, and then if they mess with someone back, or even if they don't, they're still the ones who get in trouble. And then the people who actually are like the bad people in the situation, the instigators, they get to, you know, get off and, you know, do whatever they want. You know, because like the fact that a police officer is standing right there and he witnesses that whole thing, and he witnesses somebody throw a water bottle at somebody's face and hit them right in the face, and the fact that that person then just doesn't get any sort of punishment at all, that's pretty bad. And so like, it is actually pretty accurate, and so it kind of reminded me of that story. Yeah. Let's just say like, you know, that's an instance where honestly I wished I had have put him in the hospital, because like I would have liked to have gotten in trouble so that I could explain like, well, you know, he threw the water bottle at me, you know, because I wouldn't have cared. Like if I'd had known that like you can just assault people and, you know, you don't get in trouble for it, you know, I would have assaulted him back. That's for damn sure. But she doesn't do anything. She just sits there. And they think that because Dinky is sitting there minding her own business that she has a learning disability. It's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. And then Jeff Daniels' character, he really goes through like an Oscar-worthy character arc in this movie, because he's really, really depressed. And he's just really sad, like how like he was with the Roxy Carmichael, and then she left him, and, you know, he's stuck in this shitty small town with this wife and kids who aren't anything to the world, and, you know, he's really, really depressed. Well, then his wife leaves him and takes the children with her, too, which that's a real cliche, by the way. Like, haven't you guys seen that, like, a million times, where the character's wife takes the kids away and leaves and goes somewhere else? Like, you know, like Bean the movie, for example, that's another one. You know, that movie was, that family was kind of trash anyway, but like, yeah. You know, that was really depressing. You know, like his character, everyone leaves him. It's really, really sad. It's hard to watch. And here's a really weird, this is the second movie that I've seen. The second movie that I've seen where there's a lesbian subplot, and it kind of implies that, like, a character might be lesbian, but they never follow through on it. So there are these two women in town. One of them implies that she was Roxy's former best friend. And she gets together with this other woman, and they sleep together. And then the other woman asks, was I as good as Roxy? You know, implying that girl actually slept with Roxy as well. And then she's like, no, you weren't. Nobody could be as good as Roxy. So, like, is Roxy a lesbian or not? Because, like, they also showed that Jeff Daniels, he sent her a bunch of letters. She had them returned to sender. You know, like, really, really shitty of her to do that. And so, like, did she leave him because she's lesbian or what? Like, I don't understand at all. It's really kind of confusing to me. They treat Roxy like she's this kind of angelic, like, godly figure that, like, she's just so perfect in every way, shape, or form. You don't even get to see her face the entire movie. You don't even get to hear her voice. It's really, really, like, you know, it's what you'd expect from, like, a celebrity, of, like, how people view celebrities. Is, like, these people who are superior than to like normal everyday people. But the movie also kind of deconstructs that, because you see throughout the movie like that the effect that she's had on this town. It's like I guess she had a good effect on the town in certain ways, but then in other ways she had a really negative effect of like things that she did. They're really, really shitty. And especially when you find out one of the twists at the end, it's like she's a really, really awful, horrible human being, this Roxy Carmichael. She's no one that you should be idolizing. She's no one that you should be looking up to. You know, she's terrible. Like, they had it to where, like, her childhood home is, like, memorialized and it's preserved. And, you know, like, oh, look, this is where she ate her family dinners. And they have these, like, fake dinners set up. And, you know, like, oh, look, in the refrigerator, this is where all her favorite foods were. And just really, really queer things of, like, you know, she's just some random biatch who had, like, a hit song or something, apparently. Like, you know, it's really, really pathetic. And it's just kind of, like, to me, like, making fun of celebrity and making fun of, like, this celebrity worship that we have in society. It's really gross. Another thing I like about this movie that I haven't mentioned so far is that people actually eat the food that they have on screen. Every single time people have food on screen, they eat at least a little bit of it. I really like that. You know, that's a big movie pet peeve of mine. So now, this part of the movie, this is where things got really fucked up, okay? This sequence was even worse than anything I saw in Great Balls of Fire. This school psychiatrist takes Winona to go shopping for clothes, and that's fine. That part's fine. But the weird part, guys, remember how I said she was grooming Winona? Oh shit, I almost knocked down my whole desk because I lifted my foot up. She takes Winona in the dressing room. She takes off all of her clothes and she dresses into things. She tries clothes on, and then she has Winona undressed too. Guys, are you serious? Like, like that is really, really inappropriate. Like, wow, that was really, really uncomfortable, actually. And she undresses, and the psychiatrist looks at her boobs, and Winona asks if they're ever going to be as nice as hers. And she says, they're already as nice as mine. And I was like, no, what the hell? No, gross. Like, that was so bad. Like, how the hell, like, that was gross, guys. Like, that was really, really gross. If a school psychiatrist did that in real life, they'd be fired, like, immediately. That's very inappropriate. And then Jeff Daniels, he's trying to get ready for the ball, too. And he shops for a suit. And there's a really hilarious misunderstanding where the woman at the suit store, her boyfriend wants to pick her up, and he thinks that he's paying for a blowjob from this girl at the suit store because she's on her knees and she's doing his suit so that it'll fit more, so she's putting pins in it and stuff, and it's really, really funny. You know, that was another really hilarious part of this movie. And then Jeff Daniels finds out that Winona thinks that she's the daughter of him and Roxy. And he's like, okay, Russ, you're going to have to do something really nice for Dinky if you care for her. And I was like, uh-oh, that's not a good sign. So Russ gets braces, and I thought that that was really nice. You know, Winona talked about how, like, if his dad was a dentist, then why didn't he fix the gaps in his teeth? Well, it's because Russ didn't want to have braces, and so then he decides to get them for her and his friend. By the way, he has this friend in the movie who's kind of like a bully, and he's actually one of the kids from Monster Squad. And he says, "You look really ugly." And then Russ says, "I know." And I thought that that was a really good line. That was a great moment. So this is where the darkness kicks in. They built up this entire movie to this ball. They built up the entire movie as though you're going to get to see Roxy. It's going to be really climactic to see, like, you know, her interact with Jeff Daniels and Winona. Well, not only does Roxy not show up at the ball due to circumstances that she doesn't even explain, but Jeff Daniels reveals that Dinky couldn't have been the baby because the baby was premature and it died. And he actually buried it. Very, very depressing. Ultra depressing turnout for this movie. And I can see a lot of people being very upset at this movie because it's very disappointing. I mean, the movie, it basically gives you blue balls. I mean, the whole movie, you think that you're going to see this character, and then at the end, they're like, no, F you. You're never going to get to see this character. But also, it's really depressing for, like, Winona's character because she really wanted to have, like, a good mother and have a good parent because her parents, you know, they don't really care for her as much. And so it's really depressing that, like, she doesn't get to have that savior come in. And it's really tough because, on one hand, this is a very disappointing conclusion. This is a very disappointing payoff. But on the other hand, this is a very brave and courageous storyline here because it's very anti-celebrity. And that's what I really like about it. I mean, the whole movie is basically like a fuck you to celebrities. You know, like the message of the movie is, you know, instead of worshiping celebrities, that you should appreciate the people around you. And you should be thankful for the people around you. And I thought that that was really, really good. And so the movie ends with Russ and Dinky having an ice cream sundae picnic, which, by the way, that is amazing sounding. Like, they both had, like, I don't know, it was like half a gallon of ice cream to themselves, and they had a bunch of sundae ingredients. Like, that is the greatest picnic food that I've ever seen. Like, whenever I see people doing picnics in movies and TV shows, it's always like sandwiches, cold fried chicken, apples, and shit. You know, it's never ice cream sundae shit. And then they kiss a little bit. The movie ends on a freeze frame. So yeah, like this movie, I don't know. I really don't know, because on one hand, it upsets me greatly. Like, the movie is very, very good. It's very fun, funny, dramatic, really effective. It makes sense. You really identify and sympathize with these characters, especially Jeff Daniels, who, you know, you just feel really bad for him because, you know, it would be a really sad situation. And it's really sad that he never got to see her again as well. You know, see, that's a thing where it's like that that was kind of like the Ghost of Mrs. Mirror, but good, with that whole storyline. But on the other hand, it is very upsetting to watch a whole movie like this and to not get the payoffs that you're expecting and you're wanting. It's very upsetting that, like, they spend this whole movie building up to this. You see these mysterious shots of her. You see, she's treated like a noir character almost, of like just mysterious and sexy, and she's perfect in every way. But then you never get to see her at the end. You never get to see the characters interact with her. It's really, really upsetting. It's really, really, it's kind of like depressing. Like, it's really like, I'm glad that when I got to the end, I started getting a little irritated that Roxy wasn't in the movie yet, because there was like 10 minutes left. But then I kind of skimmed through it, with the mouse, and I kind of cheated and looked ahead. And I am so glad that I did, because I think that I would have been the most disappointed and the most upset that I've ever been in the history of this channel. So, like, that's how bad this ending is. That's how, like, sad it is and depressing. So, yeah. There's a couple of nice things that happen at the end, though, I guess, that kind of take the sadness away a little bit. But still, it's very, very dark. Because, like, it really shows you that, like, and to be fair, it's a really good message, because a lot of people, they have a really unhealthy depiction of celebrities in their minds. Like, when I was standing in line to meet Chloe Moretz in Chicago, I had to stand in line for like 3 hours to meet her. When I was standing in line, we were getting into the cupcake shop to meet her, and there was this other girl, and she was crying as though she had been assaulted or she had been injured or something, and she was crying because Chloe gave her a hug and because Chloe touched her. And I thought, that is the most cringeworthy, pathetic thing I've ever heard. You're crying because some random girl, just because she's an actress, just because she's a famous person, just because she gave you a hug, you're gonna cry. That's really, really bad, guys. Like, that's not good. Like, do you think that, like, I don't know, I'm not gonna get into that, but, like, I don't know. It just, and she doesn't even have any relationship with her either. It's not like in this movie where Dinky thinks that she's going to be Roxy's daughter, and then it turns out that she's not, like, she's just some random girl, and Chloe is just some random girl too, So, yeah, like, in general, like, I would recommend this movie if you're in the mood to be disappointed. I would recommend this movie if you like to be depressed. I would also recommend this movie if you like Winona Ryder. In terms of food, there was this one time when I was a kid, and it's a very similar situation to the disappointment that I felt with this movie. And I wanted a peanut butter mountain, which was my favorite thing to get from Ritter's, and it still is. And my mom just told the guy, I want a peanut butter mountain. And then, guess what, guys? This guy, instead of giving me a regular size peanut butter mountain, he took out this little tiny children's sized container, and and he put the peanut butter mountain in it, like this little tiny peanut butter mountain. And I couldn't understand, like, if he was trying to, like, make the decision for us that, like, oh shit, my water bottle. I couldn't tell if, like, he was trying to make the decision for my mom that, like, because I was an overweight child, that I needed to have the smaller size, or if he just thought that because I was a kid that my mom wanted me to get the kid-sized ice cream. But that was really, really upsetting. It was upsetting because that was like a treat for me. Something I got like every couple of months or so. It wasn't something that I ate all the time, because, you know, it's very high calorie and, you know, everything like that. It's very delicious, though. But just being so disappointed in that, it was so irritating. It's a feeling of disappointment that I'll never forget, ever. And I think that I'll never forget the feeling of disappointment that I felt at the end of this movie. So, for better or for worse, you know, I don't know. I'm really stuck because I enjoyed the movie. I just wish that the movie wouldn't have given me blue balls like that. I mean, that's really bad. That's really a shitty thing to do. So please like this video, comment, and subscribe to our channel if you'd like to see more honest movie reviews. And yeah, that's it. Goodbye, everybody. See you soon.